Hello and welcome to Today with Amadu Saffia Bah, coming to you on TDN Africa Media. Information and communication technology is fundamental to societal development today. According to the ITC UNESCO for Integrated Survey, as ITC grew, it diversified in response to changing international development strategies. In light of that, TDN Africa Media will be looking at the importance of ITC on social, political, economic development in Sierra Leone. To talk on that, I will be speaking to Mr. Emmanuel A.B. Turay. Mr. Turay is an information communication expert with a wealth of experience. He's been in the civil service for years and has served in the Foreign Affairs Corporation, in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Corporations as the media and PR person, and also serving as the current acting director of information for the Ministry and Information and Communications. Glad to have you on the program today, Mr. Turay.
Thank you very much for having me for the very first time on your media.
Thank you so much for being here. Today, we want to talk about ITC development and other policy development matters, especially that has got to do with the film policy. But let's start with information and communication technology development in Sierra Leone. What is your take on the development of ITC in Sierra Leone, so to speak?
Holistically, the ministry that I work for as the current serving acting director of information, we call it Government Information Services, has two directorates. That is the information sector, which deals with media and other media related issues, including social media, etc. We also have the ICT Directorate, which is in charge of communications. So two directorates. However, based on your question, this ministry is charged responsible for regulation of policies and policy guidelines towards information communication technology, as well as information sharing, that is bridging the gap between citizens and government. So the ministry is charged responsible with that, and we have sector players that enhances some of this. For instance, in the ICT sector, we have what we call the National Commission, which is the NATCA, which was NATCOM before, right? It's now an authority that regulates the ICT sector, that deals with telcos, etc. And again, you will see that there was a time His Excellency the President did what we call the Directorate for Innovation and ICT. It's also there, but all incorporated here under this ministry. So we've rolled over for such a long time in Sierra Leone, whereas the tools that enhances communication or information are mainly hinged on the ICT. That is the information communication technology. This includes the mobile phone, the radio, transmitters, etc. All that is embedded into the communication sector. So, talking about ICT in this country, it has rolled over since the fiber optic cable landing in Sierra Leone, unlike when we were using direct cyberspace for internet downloading. Now we have connectivity using the fiber optics. Government of Sierra Leone has appended our signatures to several treaties to enhance communication or ICT. This is why, specifically giving it a premium, we have the Ministry of Information and Communication. Now, in terms of government tries to enhance the ICT, we have now what we are moving towards, which we call now e-governance, that is electronic governance. And we've come up with electronic bill and other bills or policies that will enhance e-governance in the country. What do we mean? We see now orange money transaction, banking system going electronics, the cabinet system going electronics, our filing systems all going electronic. We want to match up to international standards, what we call best practices, with other parts of the world to enhance e-governance. So e-governance meaning even for signatures, for files, for memos, and everything can be done digitally. And it will interest you that starting Monday also, we are going to have an international conference here looking at Sierra Leone as a case study with a view to enhancing information communication technology. And there is going to be a launch of a digital academy in Sierra Leone come Tuesday next week. So you see that the government is trying to improve on our digital connectivity as well as internet connectivity in country as the whole wide world is moving towards this trend. So this is how we do our work, and there are a lot of policies that have come up from NATSCA, which was NATCOM formerly. We have now ZUDLAB for the fiber optic landing, and this ministry is regulating policies in that direction through our strategic planning meetings that we have at sectoral level to give updates as to where we are. And talking about the fiber that will enhance internet connectivity in country, all over the country, currently there is a project going on sponsored by the Chinese government, sending this fiber optic cable all over the country to Penembu, to Kailaon, to wherever. So as long as you are there, you can always latch into the system to get internet connectivity. So how does that match with my information sector? We use all those communication tools or ICT tools to enhance dissemination of government information programs and activities. So this is why the two ministries work in, the two directorates work in synergy with a view to enhance the ICT and the information sharing.
Okay, you've talked a lot about policy developments and that's which the ministry have got to offer when it comes to its responsibilities. Now, you cannot take the fact that you would want to question how much educated are people when it comes to ITC or ICT, so to speak. I beg your pardon.
ICT, as you are aware, in fact, this involves all sectors of government. And let me take, for instance, basic education. I think most schools are now using the smaller tablets to teach. Even in the rural community, we have there in Pujao, like VSO, now teaching school children how to use smaller tablets to do their schoolwork. It is introduced in several curriculum in private schools, at higher institutional level, at tertiary level. Computer study is part of it, and basically out of every other ignorance, the phones that we have is part of technology. Everybody is making use of it. However, notwithstanding that, in the government curriculum, it's introduced. Staff of government officials are trained to use computers. Before, we used typewriters, not manual typewriters. Now every director or official of government is now using computers. So there is career development in terms of training for government officials. But how do we use this to disseminate government information? It's another ball game. What do we mean? As long as you have the cell phone, as long as radio transmitters are in country at community level, we use all these tools to disseminate government information. Like for government in general, we use the electronic system using the official email sites to send or communicate to various MDAs, rather than before we use messengers to take papers here and there. Now we use this platform to enhance information. So there are several policies. For instance, the use of social media, how government officials should make use of the social media, the ICT component. These guidelines are also enshrined into the policies that we give or regulations for the use of the media. For the general public, how best do we educate them? That's our responsibility. When the cyber crime and regulations were introduced, I think we did public education of what is enshrined in the cyber law. That is privacy of your data, maintaining your data, right? Before somebody can access your phone, it has to be through permission. Nobody can enter a computer without clear permission. Before the police can arrest your phone, there should be clear permission. And also for those hackers and people who go into somebody else's data to commit crimes, this child pornography and all of this, there are regulations, there are policies now in country to enhance the safer use of the internet as well as your computers. So government is doing everything possible to come up with regulations that regulate these sectors so that we can put these instruments or tools that we use into proper use.
Okay, you've highlighted, and when you were making your statements, you first started that um, there are tablets given out to schools. Someone would want to get that clear. Are those tablets given to school going peoples, or are you talking about their teachers?
Well, they started for other schools that I know. They started with the principals, for instance, transmission of information from the school to WAEC or to the ministry. The head teachers have tablets now, unlike before, they take big files to Freetown to come here to give results. Right, but I'm just saying there are pilot schools now that various NGOs as well as government bodies support as
Okay.
a model to see how best they can enhance teaching kids with using tablets.
Okay.
They are using that, and most of the teachers, lesson notes or whatever, they have all these instruments are part of computer. They have their phones and all of note of lessons or reading books. They are all now in computers. Go to some libraries now, even at FBC, go to Unimark, you see libraries now online. This is all part of the ICT component. So gradually we are getting there. Gradually, like I said, we are getting there. Think you should also take into consideration that most of these things depends through connectivity. So, like I said, all MDAs, all facets are involved in this to enhance the electronic governance program that government is moving towards. For instance, the rural electrification. When you now have lights in Kabbalah and the various chiefdoms or districts, then that can enhance connectivity of the system, right? So every other facet of government is working towards the e-governance model. Meaning, for instance, sending message to my Kenny, I need to be here and just type. You get the message through your phone or through your email using your phone, etc. So now that the tools are readily available with you guys, then we transmit the message whether by normal text or through WhatsApp or through the various social media handles that we can pass on our information. So this is how it works. So for schools specifically, there are pilot schools that are making use of this. And some universities, before you enter, they say you must be computer literate, meaning you must have some basics. Or even if you enter, then there should be some tutorial to take you through that. So I want to believe, I think I cannot quantify now, but most Sierra Leoneans now have hands on deck on computers through their phones.
Agreed. So now let's come a little bit when it comes to policy or bills that the ministry have passed so far. In 2020, the Cyber Crime Act was passed into law, and before its formulation, there were a lot of rumors that it has to do with clamping down oppositions or opposition supporters. It was going to infringe on the freedom of speech of citizens. Although you've done some education on that, but on this program, I want you to a little bit. Is that what the act is about?
No, the Cybercrime Act really is a way to regulate the responsible use of our computers, right? Most people use it for different reasons. Some use it to defraud other people, meaning you can be in Nigeria, enter my account here, withdraw money, through my bank account, because you know now I'm electronically connected and hack into my system. Some go into your emails, right? When it's not you, sending messaging to people that, oh, I'm in distress, I need this kind of money, this, but it's not you. That's a crime, right? Child pornography, taking photos of children and disseminating it to groups to see their nakedness or whatever, it's all a crime. Taking somebody's phone without consent and going into that person's phone is a crime. Even my computer, you cannot go into it because we have what we call personal data that you may not wish somebody else to see it for your consumption. So how would you feel if I take your phone, begin to go into messages that are sent to you? Before then, in fact, even in our court system, electronic data like tendering your phone for evidence was not taken in the court. But with this law now, this is the message you sent, this was the voice piece you sent to me, it can be tendered as evidence. Right. There are other aspects of the act talking about cyberbullying, like I said, fraud. Before you complain that I've been frauded through the internet, no judge will deal with that because they don't also have the know-how in our laws how to deal with such matter. You can be here, somebody is seated here committing a crime in America or in London or whichever country. There is no law that can track you down because you use the internet. So as we advance in technology, there are rules and regulations that we need to follow to enhance the responsible use of that gadget. If I call you to insult and it's recorded, it's heard by third party, you can tender your evidence to the recordings now you have. So it's not there to gag anybody. People were thinking that the cybercrime law was going into your personal data to take information, or what the next party is doing, we take their data. No. If such things happen without your consent, then there is also misuse of the system. So this is why the law is there now. If you use your phone to commit a crime, you can now be charged. So in summary, it's not that the press misunderstood the whole thing in terms of it, but after we sat together with them to look at the act from one point to the other, I think they've seen it as another good thing, because before the police will just come, or any authority will just come, take your phone from you or enter your system to do what. Now, before that is done, even before your phone is taken from you, it has to come from a high court judge. And you have to convince that judge that that phone, if I take it, there is something for security reasons, we need that phone. You have to convince the judge. And the person that will come to serve you should not be less than an inspector. So the law is good. Even your wife, I mean, just because it's matrimonial, but nobody should enter into your privacy without your consent. That's what it is about. Then you cannot defraud the bank and go scot-free now, because even if you are elsewhere, we can track the data. For instance, if you commit a crime using your phone and you take that SIM and even throw it away, or you think you've deleted it, so if the police cannot, no, we can go back to the data, the server, and we can bring back that message. So is it something bad? People use the phone to commit crimes. They use the phones to do a lot of things. So if there is a law to regulate that can minimize that harm, I think there is no cause to alarm. So those of you listening to us, this is what the cybercrime is about. For those who use the phone or the computer to commit crimes, it now gives you the access to sue somebody or take action on that person, and the data can always be brought, even if it's deleted. So there is nothing about it that is wrong there. If you are sure of what you are doing is justifiable, and why not? So that's what it is about.
Okay, so enforcement is one of the key mentions that need to be very, very much looked at. When it comes to enforcement, with the cyber law so far, the cyber criminal bill, has there been any arrest or case? Because one of the cases that I've followed so far was the one that has to do with someone that forwarded audio of a popular I don't know how to describe him, or popular Adebayo, so to speak. So that enforcement started from that angle. So are there any other arrests made so far apart from that?
I think that's what you know about. There was a journalist also who used the phone to blackmail a high court judge. All right.
Okay.
Now, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Using this media also to explain to people the same thing. Malicious messages that are sent. If you are caught in between transferring that message, then you are part of the network. If I see something that is damaging to you and I think this one is that it's better I restrict it to myself rather than disseminating it, because you are also part of the dissemination of such false messaging. So this was why the person was charged. For instance, to serve as evidence to say this one sent it to me. I am not the originator, but this is the. It's a way of by way of investigation, right? But when once, for instance, there is a proverb: "He who goes to accompany a thief is also a thief." What do I mean? Because you were there, the action is being committed. Not that you are seeing the action yourself to say, I committed it, but because you were present, you can serve as a witness too. Right? And you may have full knowledge of what was happening. So you can always be called to give evidence. Am I clear? Now, the enforcement you're talking about, like I said, it's a process. When this bill was passed, like I said, the law officers, police officers that were trained for cyber issues, some of them were transferred up country. They were not there to take such action. But now with the current bill, there's ongoing training for high court judges or the justices, magistrates, policemen and women and other stakeholders, so that they will know properly how to mitigate these such matters. Right? So it's ongoing, but the enforcement is there. Now, when you use the phone to commit a crime, if you report, most people do not have the education, but we are educating them. If somebody sends a malicious thing to you, right, that is demeaning to you, or even if it's child pornography, as long as the electronic evidence is there, you can make the report. But also, like I said, the same act also gives guideline on method of arrest and the way of prosecution of such matters. So the law, let me put it this way, the law does not favor anybody. The law is the law. All right? So we just make sure these instruments that we have, we use it judiciously and very professionally. An example of that, every February, we observe what we call Safer Internet Day. Safer Internet Day, we go to schools, educate children on the use of social media. Because most of them in school, they post on Facebook some pictures or some images that are not good for even their reputation in future. And the internet keeps records. So whenever such reports come out, whenever you want to, in future, want to stand for a position like a honorable or contest election, people will bring this against you. Those who also post false information on Facebook, there are times when you write organizations, give them your profile, your email address, they check some of these things. If you are really serious and what kind of person are you, they check some of these things online.
Action. Okay. So you happen to be one of the commissioners for the Independent Media Commission. So now let's look at the development of local media houses in Sierra Leone. As you know, one of the challenges that these media houses are facing is the challenge of media poverty. As an information expert, what do you recommend that both the media houses and government can do together in order to be able to bring this poverty down a little bit?
Um, Part of His Excellency's vision was to enhance media poverty and poverty in the media. Two things. The media is poor and the people are not investing in the media. Now, you may recall sometime in May 2021, 2022 we came up, 2022 we came up with the Media Investment Conference that sequel the repeal as part of the package. The reason being, just on the premise of your question, is to enhance media development in the country. We've seen that because of the draconian law that existed before, most people shied away from investing in the media in Sierra Leone, right? At an entity, they thought it's an entity that if you put your money there, the day you are found wanting for any crime of seditious libel or defamation, then the media house will be, closed, or the fife or your business, etc. So people shied away from investing in the media. So media was just left in the hands of, colleague journalists who did their own thing, So as such, there were challenges in paying their staff because the income they generate or advertorials is just for their publication. And there was no safety net for journalists, for instance, getting salaries, pension, insurance, etc. So after the repeal, there was a review of the IMC Act of 2020. The IMC came in with a view to coming up with policies to ensure that that aspect of media policy, since it's a business, right, for people to be paying their staff, can be addressed. So now, I don't know for TDN, but every media institution, before you are granted license, you must have given us the list of your staff, how much you're going to pay them, their NACIT, and all of that. So the IMC is there to monitor that aspect, whether they are paying or not. NACIT is also there. Before you renew your licenses, you have to meet NACIT to confirm that you are paying NACIT for that staff. Now, in addressing holistically media poverty and poverty in the media, government's role and responsibility is to create the conducive atmosphere that will attract business people to the media sector. What do I mean? Concessions in terms of freight of your equipment, the camera that they bring in country, the plates for printing or printing materials, printing press machines, etc. These are concessions can be given in that direction for investors to bring them. If you go to the print media now, there is scarcity of paper, the price has increased, and all of this. Government encourages them through, like what I said, waivers, etc., to enhance that. Secondly, we came up with a development conference that highlighted several areas that are challenges towards media poverty and poverty in the media. In addressing this, there should be a loan scheme for media institutions. As a business, you should have your corporate business or media firm. You have opportunity to go to the bank, as long as everything is there, to request for assistance through your business proposal, and you can be supported. The part of the recommendations was to have a grant or a loan scheme for media institutions, where they can also, like any other business, get money as long as you have a corporation or a cooperative or whatever company. You can also enhance funding. That can also help to alleviate the poverty in the media or media poverty. So you may wish to know that the first approach was done to an international firm for public media investment that is coming in now to help Sierra Leone with some chunk of money to set up a secretariat, where that secretariat will serve now to look into the problems of media, where media in Sierra Leone can apply for resources and they can be assisted. Apart from that, we have private sector partners or bilateral partners abroad that are coming in to see how best they can come in to help in terms of human capacity building in the media, gender issues, etc. So before then, all of these were not brought to the table. But now, with the investment conference as a foresight to enhance media poverty and poverty in the media, we are seeing headway now of how we can approach that. and how we can help to subsidize or help the media grow. Before, there was no subvention to slide the parent body for journalists. Now government is giving up to 500 million to assist, by way of helping slide to meet part of their expenditure in running their secretariats, etc. This is all part of government's venture to help media grow in the country. While as the IMC is also there to regulate the aspect of professionalism, to regulate the aspect of people to practice professionally.
And you think the IMC has been doing well so far on that?
Sure, because as of now, complaints are not taken to the high courts. You're not hearing of most of the complaints, but there is a whole book on reports on the outcomes of those malicious stories, or stories of blackmail or slander that are not taken out to court, but IMC amicably arbitrate the matters, and we continue to move on. So I think it's a right step in the right direction. We see now a lot of the professionalism aspect improving, though there are a few challenges to address.
If the free access to information is something that is very fundamental in spreading out informations and communication, so to speak. Now, it, you always have these allegations coming from opposition and that of, let's say, liberal-minded people, that government do not encourage these liberal-minded people or liberal-minded media houses on government functions, so to speak. How do you react to that particular allegation?
I don't know the platform you're talking about actually, but the platform I think I may want to limit myself to is access to media. For instance, the SLBC, which is a public broadcaster, I think they are maintaining their balance. They speak to opposition, they speak to the ruling party, they are making use of it. And with the proliferation of social media these days, I don't think there is barrier, in fact, for somebody not to speak his or her mind. But the couch there is this: what people fail to understand. Where your right stops, there the next person takes his or her own right from. There are limitations for what we say. For instance, if I'm making any statement as against any person, I should be sure that they are factual and in no way trying to demean or bring down this individual. So there are limitations also in terms of freedom of expression. It should be done with responsibility. You don't want anybody to just stand on the street there with megaphone to say whatever. For any government, there must be a platform to register your grievance if you have it. And the procedure here says, if I want to have a possession or whatever, I should seek clearance. Based on the merits or demerits of that clearance, the clearance can be given to you or not given. So there are other sectors that can speak more on that. But as far as I am concerned, right, I haven't created any barrier, so to speak, for me to respond to what you are saying now, because mark you, the fourth estate is there to serve as an intermediary between government and the governed. So if you cannot have that platform to speak, then it's not a responsible good governance. But I believe Sierra Leoneans have that platform. The only thing they are talking about demonstrations, the outcome of demonstrations and what happened. The law is saying before such demonstrations, you have the right to that, but you should sort clearance. That is it. But as far as media, let me limit myself to media. I think every media, including social media, are saying what they want to say. But when they don't say it or do it responsibly and with professionalism in putting that, whether using satires or satirical, whatnot, caricature, etc., do it professionally. When it's not done, the IMC has monitors as well around country or in country to monitor some of these malicious programs, etc. They can take you to task and quote the relevant sections that affect you. But for now, I don't see anybody being gagged or for A or B statement if it's within the ambit of the law.
You just mentioned the social media. So let's come a little bit to the social media aspect of information. How do you see the growth of social media in Sierra Leone as a communication expert? Do you think it's serving for the right purpose?
The definition of right purpose depends on who is using it and for what you are using it. I think I will speak from a government perspective in terms of dissemination of information and the impact of it on citizens. What do I mean by this? Messages that are going around that will provoke people to hate speeches, you know, tribal issues, things that will not promote national peace and quiet or national cohesion. These are the things government frown at. And whenever such things happen, we either go in to debunk or to come up with a statement to say this is fake and it's not correct. Because the objective of some people is to create chaos, mayhem, disunity, split among friends, or they have their own reasons. This is why we continuously engage citizens on the responsible use of new media. A part of new media is all the social media, the Twitter, the this, the that. Let's use this responsibly, because what we do has an objective or tendency of creating problem in country. So, however, we are also latching on the same new media or social media to pass on government information, activities, programs, policies, etc. So, it's all in line with information dissemination. You were talking about freedom of expression. People are saying whatever. People are saying whatever, which is their right. But if you do it responsibly, personally, at the ministry, we monitor. We monitor what people are saying so that leaders who speak, authorities who speak, may use their platform or respective platform to address those social issues. If you tell me there is problem there and put it right without abusive things or whatever, I think I'll listen to it attentively and take the necessary steps or actions. I think this is what it is all geared about. The manner in which messages are sent. For instance, I think you may have also looked through some of the social media group. Instead of sending what we say byline of what has happened, people just send pictures. Then you begin to ask, what picture is this? The picture cannot speak for itself. Somebody bleeding their proof. And there are also photo ethics. There are certain photos, you don't just send them like that. Either you blur the face of the victim, right? But or sometimes the injury part. But you see some offensive photos on social media. You yourself, as a press man or woman, you don't want. But we have what we call now citizen journalism. They report as they see it. So we face all of these things, but we shield the facts out of the rest and take necessary actions. There are times the neighbors that are affected by fire incident or disaster, they cannot take action at that point because they are in crisis. Neighbors send distress calls using the social media, and you see fire force moving there. So we have the good aspect of the social media, and we have those who use it for malicious activities to enhance their own good.
Could that be one of the reasons why the IMC would be having the right to be regulating this social media?
Well, it's not the IMC. We have now the cyber law.
Okay.
If you get affected, you have the right to sue. When it comes to media, anything that is published on paper, right? Anything that is published on paper or that is said on electronic media, including radio, all right? And that's what we take action. The IMC takes action. When it's on social media and you feel offended, and this person is not a journalist attached to any of the media institutions, you have the right to take the person to court. That's why I told you the good thing about the cyber crime law, right? It can be you can take your action, and that can be addressed at that level. You only take media institutions to the IMC. IMC only monitors media institutions in country. that is print and electronics, and those that are registered for online. These are the things the IMC takes care of. Any other thing apart from that, private conversations or group conversations that does not fall within the ambit of that, then that is taken personally. So the IMC is there to regulate media institutions in the country.
Okay, let me take you a little bit from the information and communications aspect. Let's come a little bit to the entertainment part. We want to talk about the film policy. I'm meant to understand that you are the brain behind the formation of that particular policy with the help of other film guild representatives, so to speak. Take us through that journey a little bit. How has it been so far?
Well, part of the mandate of this ministry is to censor films in the country. You will not censor if you cannot regulate. And the gap that has existed ever since in Sierra Leone is that we didn't have a policy nor a bill or an act, right? So all we need is to have a policy to regulate this body. Mark you, the film industry, for instance, in countries like Nigeria, after agriculture, is one of the most viable entities that creates employment for young people and generates income for the country, foreign direct investment in the country as well. So for Sierra Leone, it's not an exception. We have beautiful landscape, we have beautiful locations in the country as well. And you have people that are already in the film industry, over 5,000 young people. Right, they want to go into this profession, but they lack the necessary logistics or the tools, the know-how, professionalism, etc. Though we have few professionals. So to make this entity very viable, there is a need first to come up with a policy that will enhance the program in this country. And in that policy, it will look at the infrastructure, it will look at the human capital development within the industry, it will look at hospitality within the country for areas of location, it will also look at education of its membership, etc. So when you come up with that policy, there and then, based on best practice, other people elsewhere will leave their countries to come and shoot a movie in Sierra Leone. But if somebody calls now to come and shoot a movie in Sierra Leone and we don't have any policy, then you cannot tell this person, oh, you have to employ this percentage of Sierra Leoneans, or we have this expertise on that. When you have the policy, then that informs what we call now a bill that will be tendered in Parliament as a cinematography act. So that area too can be regulated. You don't just take camera today, begin to shoot anywhere within Sierra Leone. It will be against our laws. And this one also accrues revenue for government. You have to pay for film licenses, documentaries, seasonal films or episodal films. You have to. Then it will also create employment for other young people within the industry. And it will enhance tourism. For instance, we have what we call internal film tourism. You want to see where a season this of so short made in Sierra Leone. How is it done? Or when they are doing it, you go yourself to see. Because most people don't even know how film is produced. People want to see all of this. It can make our children, the students, take excursion trips to see some of these things. Or they may want to see, like when we went to China, they took us to the film village. It's something very interesting. You may think it's a whole world for itself. But when you go there, then you begin to see that some of these things are even done within a shed. What do I mean? A small house. Yeah? They do everything in there. You will never believe it. So some of these things attract investment in country as well as tourism. So the policy is already towards the finalization part of it to be sent to cabinet. From cabinet, it's taken now for a policy draft to the crafters of the bill that will come out as a cinematography act to enhance film development in the country.
Capacity building is very key in a particular sector like that you're talking about, the film sector. Do you think we have the capacity?
There are Sierra Leoneans like Elba we are talking about. This one is a member of the Hollywood film industry. We have a lot of other Sierra Leoneans out there. One of them came here to establish a film school. They are there. Though few, but if we create the policy, it will inform what we call curriculum in the textbook institutions. So you don't need to go only for the film school, but you can enter any textbook institution to say, I want to be a cinematographer, and they train you in camera work. There are people, they are experts. Or we can bring in experts from UNESCO and other areas to come and train Sierra Leoneans in those schools, right? So, Ligongwi is training, you have I am Tech, you have different schools here, but we don't have synchronized syllabus or curriculum to teach. So the policy will inform this and take that into consideration for human capacity development. There will be short-term programs. We bring in experts from other countries who will come here to teach people just for editing or the new softwares in editing or for the new cameras, how to use them, the various functions, just for sound, just for 3D animation, just for makeup. They will train all of them. But we want to, the policy is looking at attracting institutions at textbook level. So from apprenticeship, you can come from that level, even if not to from 3 or from 5, you can enter to a textbook and come out with a diploma specialized in photography. Now you see digital photography taking the realm on the stage now. We are moving from that analog and now to digital. And people are having studios now, as we had before, way back from 60s, 70s. Now they have advanced studios with green scene, with background, etc. They can do anything there through Photoshop. So this is all based on part of human capital development. There are experts, including myself, seated here to teach other people how to make proper use of the camera, to make use of sound, to make use of makeup, etc. Location, scouts, gaffers, etc. It's a whole field that you can train young people to beef up their capacity. So yes, for human capacity development, we have already started it. I recall the Youth Commission has trained the young people at Obasanjo Vocational Training Center, where I participated. We train young people to the use of camera and other sets of equipment for filming.
And what is the relationship between you and that of the film industry itself in working on this particular policy? Because eventually, you know, the law will not really favor some other people, but in order to get them informed before the policy is being bring to life.
I think the relationship is good with the film industry because that enhances their work and it makes it simple. The only challenge we have with them, their patience for time. A policy is a circle. You have the policy formulation aspect, which takes into consideration discussion on what you want to see and all of that. And in that policy circle, the formulation aspect or the draft is there. You have to consult other experts outside your domain to look at what you've done for the aspect of best practice. All right. So I know they are eager to have it now, but from the government perspective, we want to do a thorough job that when it comes out, it's for the common good. So our relationship, we cannot work in isolation. And it's for them. It's basically for them to enhance their work as professionals as well. So, but generally, holistically, we are in touch. And they are only waiting now for when this final draft will come out and when it will be seen to be implemented. That's all. We've been on it for the past for 5 years now. We'll be working on this. It should come out shortly, and that will be settled shortly, I can say. But it's a matter of time.
Okay, we're about to bring the curtain down, but personally, having been in the film industry for a while, what would be your suggestion to young people that intend coming into this particular industry?
I'll put it in two folds. You don't just get up today and become a director or a producer in the film industry, as have been seen here. Anybody can just come, say, I'm a director. You have to be patient to learn. So we encourage one, the educational sector, tertiary and higher education, to make sure They design curriculum for those students. They design harmonized curriculum to enhance training, and we are also following on that when the policy comes out. The young people, film industry, you can even be a medical doctor and still be acting on stage. We've done it in other countries. Most people you see there, the Nigerian actors, some are lawyers, some are doctors, some they have other jobs to do, but that's part of their passion, right? So don't say I spend 24 hours in the film industry and you don't have anything to do. For now, be somebody else, be a lawyer, be a worker, be a teacher, be a whatever, but you can still work in the film industry, right? And there are those professionals who spend all their time just as editors, continue to have more innovative ideas, play with the softwares, and you will learn a lot to do a lot of 3D work, to do other activities that will enhance the film industry. To government, we're working very hard to ensure that the film policy is out, and we'll do our best so that that area can be addressed as soon as possible.
Thank you so much for talking to us today on Today with Amadu Bah, TDN Africa Media. Hello, you've been watching Today with Amadu Saffia Bah, and with me have been talking to the Information Director at the Ministry of Information and Communications. Stay with us as we'll be bringing you this on every Sunday.